The promotional video for The Bold and the Beautiful for the highly anticipated week of August 17th to August 21st, 2026 has officially dropped. And it promises a tidal wave of emotional devastation, corporate power plays, and romantic betrayals that will forever alter the landscape of our favorite daytime drama. The stakes have never been higher as the fallout from the catastrophic Monaco trip and the ongoing Spencer-Forrester corporate war reaches a terrifying boiling point. From bitter confrontations in the executive offices of Forrester Creations to desperate, alcohol-fueled mistakes made in the shadows, this upcoming week is guaranteed to leave viewers absolutely breathless. We are about to witness the absolute destruction of relationships that once seemed unbreakable, and the shocking formation of new, scandalous alliances born out of pure grief and vulnerability. The weekly preview kicks off with an intense and highly emotional confrontation at the Spencer Beach House, centering on the deeply fractured life of Will Spencer. Katie Logan Spencer, ever the fiercely protective mother, marches into Will's orbit to demand answers about his increasingly reckless personal life. Katie is absolutely horrified to witness her son spiraling into a web of romantic chaos, specifically regarding his complicated entanglement with Melissa Dillon. Katie confronts Will with a piercing observation, questioning how he can continuously claim to miss Electra Forrester and mourn the death of their relationship while simultaneously hooking up with Electra's former best friend. For Katie, this behavior is not just hypocritical, it is a dangerous game that threatens to further ignite the already explosive war between the Spencer and Forrester families. Katie knows all too well the destructive power of a love triangle, and she is desperate to pull her son back from the precipice before he completely destroys his own reputation and emotional well-being. Will, however, is not willing to sit back and accept his mother's harsh judgment without a fight. He is a young man drowning in a sea of guilt, heartbreak, and overwhelming frustration. Will fiercely defends his actions, arguing with raw emotion that Electra was the one who walked away from him. He reminds Katie of the brutal finality of their breakup, emphasizing that Electra made it abundantly clear that they would never, ever get back together. From Will's perspective, he has been cast aside, judged for his violent mistakes at the bikini bar, and abandoned by the woman he loved. He feels entirely justified in seeking comfort wherever he can find it, even if that comfort comes in the highly controversial form of Melissa Dillon. Will's defense is rooted in deep pain. He is a broken man trying to navigate the shattered remains of his life, and he refuses to be shamed for trying to survive the emotional wreckage that Electra left behind when she moved out of the beach house and aligned herself with R.J. Forrester. Standing quietly but strategically in the background of this Spencer family drama is Melissa Dillon. Dillon has completely shed her former innocent facade and is now operating with calculated precision. She is actively comforting Will, using his immense vulnerability to solidify her position in his life and, by extension, the wealthy and powerful Spencer family. Will sees absolutely no reason to reject Dillon's affections. In his mind, he is a free agent, and Dillon is providing the emotional and physical solace that Electra so coldly denied him. However, Katie sees right through Dillon's comforting act. Katie's maternal instincts are screaming that Dillon is an opportunistic player who is capitalizing on Will's drunken depression and heartbreak to secure a luxurious future. The dynamic at the beach house is a ticking time bomb, with Will caught between his mother's fierce warnings and the intoxicating, uncomplicated escape that Dillon so willingly provides. Meanwhile, the tension across town at Forrester Creations is reaching an unprecedented level of toxicity. Electra Forrester is struggling to maintain her composure in the wake of her permanent split from Will and her burgeoning, yet complicated, romance with R.J. Forrester. Despite being the one who officially ended things with Will, Electra is consumed by a fiery, possessive jealousy upon learning that her ex-boyfriend has swiftly moved on with her former friend and current employee, Melissa Dillon. Electra's pride is deeply wounded, and her lingering feelings for Will are manifesting as a toxic, controlling rage directed entirely at Dillon. The Forrester design offices, usually a sanctuary of creativity and high fashion, are about to become the battleground for a vicious, personal war between two women who are no longer willing to play nice. Electra is determined to assert her dominance and punish Dylan for daring to cross the unspoken boundaries of their shattered friendship. The promotional footage reveals a fierce, no-holds-barred confrontation between Electra and Dylan right in the middle of the Forrester Creations office. Electra corners Dylan, her eyes blazing with a mixture of betrayal and aristocratic fury. She attacks Dylan for shamelessly flirting with Will and deliberately trying to provoke her. Electra views Dylan's actions not just as a romantic betrayal, but as a direct insult to her status and authority within the company. The air in the office is thick with animosity as Electra unleashes her pent-up frustration, pointing out that Dylan's blatant disrespect could have severe professional consequences. Electra is no longer the forgiving, understanding friend. She is operating from a place of deep insecurity and vindictiveness, ready to use every weapon in her arsenal to destroy the woman who has dared to take her place in Will Spencer's bed. In a moment of sheer, unadulterated arrogance that perfectly mirrors the darker, more ruthless traits of the Forrester bloodline, Electra drops the ultimate power card. With a voice dripping with condescension and absolute authority, she issues a chilling warning to Dylan, declaring loudly, "I am Electra Forrester. If I want, you have to disappear." This line, highlighted prominently in the weekly preview, showcases a terrifying evolution in Electra's character. She is weaponizing her last name, using the immense wealth, power, and legacy of her grandfather Eric Forrester to intimidate and crush her rival. Electra is essentially telling Dylan that she is nothing more than a disposable peasant in the Grand Forrester Kingdom, and that her employment, her livelihood, and her presence in Los Angeles can be erased with a single snap of Electra's fingers. It is a breathtaking display of nepotism and cruelty, proving that Electra is fully prepared to cross any ethical line to get her revenge. However, Melissa Dylan is no longer the timid, eager-to-please assistant she once was. Having successfully infiltrated Will Spencer's life and secured her own sense of power, Dylan refuses to cower in the face of Electra's tyrannical threats. Dylan pushes back with a defiant smirk, challenging Electra's actual authority within the corporate structure of Forrester Creations. Dylan astutely points out that Electra, despite her famous last name, is not the co-CEO. Dylan insists that only Steffy Forrester Finnegan or Ridge Forrester possess the actual executive power to terminate her employment. Dylan's refusal to back down infuriates Electra even further. Dylan is calling Electra's bluff, essentially daring the Forrester heiress to try and fire her, confident that her own job performance and her newfound connections will protect her from Electra's petty, jealousy-driven wrath. Electra, refusing to be outmaneuvered by someone she views as vastly inferior, immediately counters Dylan's defiance with a chilling promise. Electra confidently asserts that while she may not hold the title of CEO, she possesses the ear and the heart of the people who do. She warns Dylan that she can easily persuade Ridge or Steffy to fire her, implying that family loyalty will always trump the employment of a mere assistant. Electra is banking on the fact that Ridge, who already despises Will Spencer and views him as a violent threat, will gladly terminate Dylan just to protect Electra's emotional well-being and eliminate any lingering drama from the Spencer family. The standoff between the two women is electric, a high-stakes game of corporate and romantic chess where both players refuse to yield, setting the stage for a massive internal conflict at the fashion house. Ironically, Electra's grand threat to run to Steffy Forrester Finnegan for help is completely hollow at this specific moment in time. Unbeknownst to Electra and the rest of the squabbling staff, Steffy is currently entirely unavailable to handle petty office politics or human resources disputes. Steffy is dealing with a catastrophic, life-altering crisis of her own. The formidable co-CEO of Forrester Creations is completely consumed by the devastating realization that her marriage to John Finnegan has seemingly imploded beyond repair. The trauma of the Monaco trip, the horrifying discovery of Sheila Carter stalking them on the French Riviera, and Finn's perceived betrayal in defending his biological mother have pushed Steffy to her absolute breaking point. Steffy is not thinking about fashion lines or assistant rivalries. She is drowning in a sea of unimaginable heartbreak and betrayal. Having fled Monaco on a commercial flight after physically throwing her wedding ring at Finn's chest, Steffy has returned to Los Angeles as a shattered shell of her former self. The promotional video shows a deeply vulnerable, heavily intoxicated Steffy seeking refuge in the familiar walls of the Forrester executive offices. She is drinking heavily to numb the agonizing pain of her shattered reality. Steffy is trapped in a vicious cycle of trauma, haunted by the memories of Sheila Carter shooting her and Finn in that dark alleyway, and utterly disgusted that her husband would ever show an ounce of sympathy for that monster. Steffy believes that her relationship with Finn is definitively over, a casualty of Sheila's relentless, psychotic obsession with their family. In her drunken, vulnerable state, Steffy is desperately seeking an anchor, someone who can understand the profound grief of having their entire future ripped away by circumstances beyond their control. Enter Carter Walton. The handsome, loyal chief operating officer of Forrester Creations is currently fighting his own agonizing battle with despair. Carter is also heavily intoxicated, nursing a broken heart of his own. His beloved wife, Daphne Rose Walton, recently received a devastating diagnosis of severe infertility and premature menopause. Despite Carter's desperate, tearful vows to stand by her side and explore alternative paths to parenthood, the functional depression proved too much for Daphne. Convinced that she was holding Carter back from his ultimate dream of having a biological family, Daphne made the tragic and impulsive decision to abandon their marriage and flee to Paris. Carter has been left completely alone, his dreams of a happy family and a lifelong partnership reduced to ashes. Like Steffy, Carter is drowning his sorrows in alcohol, trying to make sense of a world that suddenly feels incredibly cruel and unfair. The collision of these two broken, intoxicated souls in the dimly lit Forrester offices is a recipe for absolute disaster and irresistible television. Steffy, tears streaming down her face, leans heavily on Carter for emotional support. She pours out her heart, recounting the nightmare in Monaco and venting her absolute exhaustion over Sheila Carter's relentless destruction of her life. Steffy tearfully confesses that all she ever wanted was to be free from the psychotic woman who has terrorized her family for years, and that Finn's inability to completely sever ties with Sheila has broken her heart beyond repair. Carter, possessing a deep well of empathy and his own profound understanding of loss, listens with unwavering attention. He validates Steffy's pain, offering the kind of unconditional support and understanding that she so desperately craves in this moment of ultimate darkness. As the alcohol flows and the emotional walls crumble, the dynamic between Steffy and Carter begins to shift dangerously. They are two incredibly attractive, deeply wounded people who have always shared a strong foundation of friendship and mutual respect. Now, bonded by their simultaneous, catastrophic heartbreak, that platonic connection is morphing into something far more intense and volatile. The shared misery acts as an intoxicating catalyst, drawing them closer together as they seek comfort in each other's arms. The physical proximity, the whispered confessions of pain, and the desperate need to feel something other than grief are creating a perfect storm of temptation. The promotional footage strongly hints that this deeply emotional connection is on the verge of escalating into a highly passionate, steamy encounter that will cross every conceivable boundary. In their heavily intoxicated and emotionally fragile states, Carter and Steffy are teetering on the edge of the abyss. The boundaries of professionalism and friendship are evaporating, replaced by a raw, primal need for connection and solace. A lingering glance, a gentle touch to wipe away a tear, the comforting embrace that holds on just a little too long, every passing second brings them closer to committing the ultimate betrayal. For Steffy, it is a desperate attempt to feel loved and protected after feeling so profoundly abandoned by Finn. For Carter, it is a chance to feel needed and desired after being so abruptly discarded by Daphne. They are both looking for a lifeline, but in doing so, they are about to make a monumental mistake that will send shockwaves through the entire Forrester, Finnegan, and Walton families, forever altering the trajectory of their lives. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, a frantic and desperate John Finn Finnegan is racing against the clock. The preview video shows Finn rushing through the airport, having booked the first available flight back to Los Angeles. The reality of his catastrophic mistake in Monaco has finally crashed down upon him. He realizes that his momentary lapse in judgment, his slight defense of Sheila, and his failure to protect Steffi from her stalker has cost him the love of his life. Finn is consumed by a singular, burning goal. He must get back to Los Angeles, find Steffi, and beg for her forgiveness before she closes the door on their marriage forever. The urgency in Finn's eyes is palpable. He knows that Steffi is highly volatile and prone to impulsive decisions when she is hurting, and he is terrified of what she might do in her current state of absolute despair. Finn's internal monologue is a frantic loop of panic and regret. He declares to himself that he needs to get to Steffi before it is too late, completely unaware of the tragic irony of his words. As his plane soars over the Atlantic, Finn is praying for a miracle, hoping that the deep, profound love he shares with Steffi will be enough to overcome the toxic poison that Sheila Carter has injected into their lives. He is ready to make whatever promises are necessary to completely and utterly banish Sheila from his mind and his heart if it means saving his family. But the ticking clock is merciless, and the geographical distance between them is an insurmountable barrier as the drama in Los Angeles unfolds at a breakneck pace. The agonizing suspense of the August 17th, 21-week lies in this very juxtaposition. Finn's desperate race across the globe to save his marriage, contrasted against Steffi's rapid descent into a scandalous, alcohol-fueled mistake with Carter Walton. Based on the current, highly charged trajectory of Carter and Steffi's emotional breakdown in the Forrester offices, it appears almost certain that Finn will be too late. By the time Finn touches down in Los Angeles and rushes to find his wife, the damage will likely already be done. The ultimate betrayal is looming on the horizon, threatening to permanently shatter the marriage and create a devastating new scandal that will rock Forrester Creations to its very core. Keep your eyes glued to the screen, because the fallout from these desperate actions will be absolutely legendary.